another time we had a dive bomber sneak out of some clouds. It was spotty clouds that day, and radar didn't pick up this plane. And I was sitting on the deck working on a motor out of a refrigeration unit. And I heard the general quarters bell go off, and I looked up and I heard this roar. I see this plane coming right down at us, and about the time I looked up there, I saw him release the bomb. But he missed us. He dropped his bomb just off our fantail just a little bit, and exploded out there in the water. Shook the ship up pretty good. But anyway, the plane got away, and nobody even got a shot at him. We didn't see him, didn't pick him up. And anyway, we went to general quarters and stayed at that status for, I don't know, I suppose an hour maybe. And so I went back to work on this motor, and I couldn't find it. And the chief came by there, and I was looking around there, and he says, "What are you looking for?" And I said, "I had a motor out here off that refrigeration unit working on it, and I can't find it. You don't know what the heck I did with it." He says, "I know what you did with it. You threw it right over the side." Apparently that's what I did. He didn't see me do it, but he said, "Under these conditions," he said, "you do strange things." So he said, "Go down to the storeroom and get another motor and put on." So I did that. Then one day we saw a ship just like ours get hit with a bomb, and it either went down the smokestack or it went through the deck into the ammunition room. And it was a big ball of fire, and of course we were, I don't know how many miles away from it. We were in the same area there with probably 100 ships in the convoy. So we were probably 4 or 5 miles away from it. But anyway, there was just this big puff of smoke and the fire, and then we were closest to it, so we ran over there. When we got over there, all there was just debris floating around in the water, life jackets. There wasn't a guy got off of that ship. That one bomb just destroyed the whole thing. And another time another ship just our size got hit with a torpedo, and I think it exploded with the time fuse just before it got there, because it didn't sink the ship, but it blew a big hole in it and put it out of commission. And so the captain of the fleet, the convoy, picked us out to stay with this ship and try to tow it back into Bermuda. And so we got a line on it. Of course, this line was probably 6-8 inches across, something like that. And we headed back for Bermuda. But, and this was at sunset readiness is what they called it. The torpedo, or the submarine attacks, was usually at sunrise or sunset. And then we were always on general quarters at the time. Anyway, we tied on to this ship, same size as ours, and we could hardly move the darn thing. But we were just setting ducks out there, you know. And of course, we was at general quarters all night long. And this ship started to tilt. It was laying over quite a bit, and they took all the guns and everything that was on that one side and throwed them overboard to keep the ship from turning over. And the next morning was New Year's Day. And then we took turns sitting back there on the fantail and watching this other ship. And the only way we could tell how fast we were going, they'd throw a empty crate or something over the side, and then they detected the current, how fast the current was in the ocean. And then they'd time from the fantail of our ship to the bow of the other ship, and it seemed like it took forever for that bow of that ship to get up to where that crate was floating. And but we didn't dare let any slack up, because whenever we'd let up slack, the ship would try to turn over. So they had radioed into Bermuda for a seagoing tug to come out, and it took about all day for that tug to get out there. And then they was trying, and the water was getting rough, and they was trying to get a line on this ship. And of course they would start out with a little line, and then they'd tie a little bigger line on, and then a little bigger, and before they could get to this big line, it'd break. And then they'd have to start all over again. And it was just beginning to get dark, and the captain of the tug told our captain, he said, "We're going to give it one more try." And he said, "If we don't make it this time, you guys are going to have to hang on to them till morning." And by golly, they finally made it that time. And that dang tug got a hold of that ship, and it took off across the ocean like it was nothing. It was amazing how the power that those tugs have. And then, of course, then we turned around and headed back towards Africa to catch up with the convoy. And this tug took this ship back into Africa. Oh, well, that was the Isherwood. Actually, it didn't get much damage, but it was just the concussion off of this bomb that knocked me off of that gun. And of course, I was probably up 10, 12 feet in the air and lit on the deck, and there was a couple, 3 other guys got banged up too. I don't remember just what happened to them, but I know I went to the hospital and they had this hernia operation. Now you get a hernia operation and the next day they got you up walking around. Of course, I had a little more than just a concussion too. But, oh, yeah, it went to the Pacific, and I never heard anything from it until after the war. And there's a fellow that lives in Denver, Iowa. I looked him up. I knew he lived in Denver. Of course, he didn't have any idea where I lived. And he was telling me that, he said, "You're real lucky that you didn't stay on the Isherwood when we went to the Pacific, because I was on this 5-inch gun crew." And he said, a bomb hit that gun turret one day and killed everybody on the gun crew except one guy. And after things got quieted down, the attack was over, they found him sitting on the deck. He was in shock, but he was trying to get his wristwatch off of his left hand. Blew his arm off. And they took him and the other people that were injured and transferred him over to a hospital ship. And about an hour after they put him on the hospital ship, a kamikaze pilot dove his plane into the hospital ship and sunk it. So you might say he got killed twice. It was a good thing I wasn't on that ship. I'd have been on that gun crew.